Good evening and welcome to another Biddle Live, I should say.
Hey.
Well, we're here to sit out and have a talk about tech. Could be vintage tech, could be Linuxy tech, typically Linux tech, since Linux is kind of in the title of this whole thing. But it's just kind of a talk around the virtual water cooler. You know, we're going to leave our cubicles and head over to the break room and have not a bubbly, or maybe a bubbly, but not a frothy beverage. So anything that's Linux, tech, open source, it's all on the table for discussion. We have some things I want to talk about. We explored EasyOS this week. But first, I want to thank Rocco once again for starting the Biddle community, where I truly felt like a member of the nicest group of helpful people like ever, and really kind of got my start in really being involved in the community at a next level, and I'm sure a lot of other people as well. So just a great group of people, and I do thank Rocco for that. So on the dock for today, we're going to talk about our EasyOS exploration, and talk about some new distros. I think there's one that's brewing here that I think I was talking with Con a little bit ahead of the show that I want to bring up and perhaps steer the conversation that way. So welcome. How is everybody?
Good.
Hopefully the YouTubes are working out okay.
Yeah, it's working.
It's okay, good, because I did my monologue. It's over. So what if I have not audio. Hopefully he can fix that. Maybe it's a Zoom thing, Vince. Can you hear though? I guess would be the question. Well, I guess Jinda can hear me, so
yeah, I can hear you.
That's
just
good.
Fine.
Yeah, that's good.
Sleepy doesn't have audio.
And we have a Nate on. I don't know Nate G, but he has a
Nate
very
G.
nice picture, and I didn't vet it at all, but that's okay. So anything cool that you guys been doing in Linux?
Yep. I've been testing MX Linux installers, so that's been my videos for the last week or so, and I'm uploading another one today. So that's I like the changes they've made to their installer because it's all been what can you say, refreshed. So it's quite interesting.
Excellent. That does excite me a lot. Now, I've always thought the MX installer was pretty great to begin with, but you're saying that they've actually tweaked it, they made it better.
Yeah, they've changed it. I can't say it's better or the same at the moment. I'm still sort of exploring it, so I do want to explore it a little bit further and probably even make another video. So probably about 4 videos on MX. But
awesome.
When I make videos, I miss a lot of things because you're focusing on so many things.
Mm-hmm.
The only time you ever notice that you've missed something is when you're editing the video and you think, oh, I didn't see that and I didn't see that. So then you make another video and eventually after about 3 videos, you find everything that's within there. And then you can make a video and talk about everything pretty much. So that's where I'm at the moment. Yeah.
So I feel a little guilty. Only a little, because I have not been studious in the MX community, and I think I need to kind of make my presence there again at some point in time because it's such a nice community. I think Dolphin, Oracle, Dolphin, Oracle. He's a great guy, and I like his take on things. So
running with the dolphin.
Yeah, running with the dolphin.
Running with the dolphin. Yeah, we need to get him on here. With a bit of luck, he might be in chat today because sometimes he turns up in chat, but I'd have to think he's a very busy man right now. Considering that MX is in beta, he's probably got a lot of work to do, I think.
Oh, I'm
sure.
Hopefully
he might show up. Yeah.
All right, so I guess let's get right into it. EasyOS. I didn't do a straw poll because, well, I failed you all on that one, I guess. On if what you think of EasyOS versus something like Puppy. Is it they feel about the same?
Oh, gee.
Has it been
anyone chatting here? Anyone can open up?
They feel They feel very similar.
Yeah.
But the way I understand Puppy is you still use like the package manager,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if I think the only packages you have are those those containers, I think. Right? There's no
That's-
like if you use the puppy that's based on Ubuntu, you use apt and you use the Ubuntu repo through
Right.
the tools that they give you. So it's in that way it's very different.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I just noticed things
have
are like. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I have a bit of, I am a little bit familiar with Puppy. So installing things in Puppy is a little bit easier, although I didn't get to the install stage of EasyOS. But the one thing I have to say is Puppy Linux, you can find it easy. Finding the image is easy. They have an ISO, not an actual image file. So I found all that so much easier. And when it comes to EasyOS, I found that trying to find the image, because they had several images on the website. So all I did was I did a little bit of crazy clicking on the website and came across the highest numbered image, which was 2.9. So I'd have to think that was the right one. So I tried that one. And for the people who want to know, if you want to try it out in VirtualBox, there is one. There is a command you can run in the terminal that converts the .img to a .vdi, and you can just hook it up on VirtualBox and off you go. But you'll be running the live image. So that's what I did. So I just run the live image. I didn't install it, so I didn't get to that point.
Yeah, I ran the version. Oh, okay. Also, let's I guess talk about the installation process or the setup process. However we just chose to explore it. I found that the getting it like I couldn't use it on virtual hardware because the it didn't I didn't have an ISO. I tried to use it in a VM libvirt manager, and I couldn't find a way. I was searching through the documents, but apparently I should have talked to you, Colin. And I wouldn't have had to run it on actual hardware. But yeah, so I had a hard time with the initial setup. It wasn't as easy to set up the way I would normally explore something. So it made for a. Ever heard the term shaving the yak? Is that a term have you ever heard? Okay.
No.
So the idea is.
No.
Sounds
Okay.
bad.
So the idea is, let's say you're gonna shave a yak. And so you got to get the yak to the place to shave it. All right. So, but before you can actually transport the yak, you need to go find the harness. But then you found that the harness is broken, so you got to go find a different harness or repair the harness. So then you get the harness, you put it on the yak, you take that where you got to go, but then you find that your shears are missing. So now you got to go find your shears. You find your shears, but they weren't cleaned the last time you shaved the yak. So then you have to clean the shears in order so you can shave the yak, but you're shaving the yak so you can save the hair for, whatever reason, and you don't have anything to put the hair in. So you have to go out and get some containers, some bags to shave the, anyway, so the idea is all these other tasks that are seemingly unrelated to shaving the yak have to be done before you can shave the yak. So I felt like that's what I was doing. I was shaving the yak, trying to get this thing going. So I had to go find a laptop that, I don't know I still haven't found my testing laptop. I think I know where it is now that we're talking about it. So I had to get a different laptop to test it on. So I got that machine, and then I didn't have a power supply for it. So I had to get a power supply to run the machine so I could put this on a USB stick. But I haven't found all my USB sticks yet. It's in someplace else that's very safe, apparently. So I did find one. And anyway, so long story short, I shaved the yak, and I got it going, but I didn't actually do it in an install. I just ran it like a session where it expanded on the drive itself. So it's running from a USB drive. But anyway, so I've been having fun.
I'm interested to know if anyone actually used Etcher, which I think was recommended, Etcher to write it to USB.
I tried it.
Okay.
Oh, you used it, Aris?
I used that, and I used Ventoy. You can put it in Ventoy, and Ventoy picks it up.
Oh, of course, yeah. Okay.
I didn't actually install it though, but I was able to boot from both.
Right. So the Etcher actually wrote the .img file to the USB.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize it could do that. I thought it was just ISOs. Interesting.
So
It's just kind of funny because I actually installed it in VirtualBox, and the install process was fairly straightforward, much more straightforward than the actual writing process to a disk, to a USB itself.
I just I ended up doing the DD command because I was going to use the Raspberry Pi imager thing, the Raspberry whatever one, and I tried that one, and basically it kind of kicked me out. I didn't like it. Just couldn't read the image. So
I use MintStick, the one that comes with Linux Mint. It's
yep.
a USB writer. Yeah, that's the one I used. It worked, but I had video troubles with it for some reason. When I went to go to the user group forum, there wasn't one. The one link that I clicked on didn't work. It was down or not operational, or the website wasn't existed. And then there was another one that did work, and I tried finding how to fix it, and I really couldn't find any information.
yeah, I think it would be worth probably a refinement in the documentation or the process to get the image, and well, I guess if you're gonna write to USB, it's not a big deal. But then I think I didn't see the VirtualBox one, and I guess I totally flubbed that up. I probably could have done that, but yeah. So that was kind of a headache for me, personally.
Yeah, there were some video issues when I first booted it up in VirtualBox. There was a lot of configuration with X. Did you guys find that as well? Once we used VirtualBox?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I did, yeah. Eventually got it working. Can I remember how I did that? That was.
I should have taken notes.
I still remember, but I'd have to start it back up to actually remember how I did it. I'll remember when I see the screen, but I can't actually see it in the mind.
I tried to run it in VirtualBox also, and I had the same issue, but I don't remember how I fixed that.
I could only get, what was it, 1300 by 700 something. Is that right? I couldn't get full screen.
No.
No, me neither.
No, okay.
So mine got to 1440 by 900, but that's what the laptop is. So that seemed fine for me. But I thought it was really odd that if I went to maximize a window, it wouldn't take up the entire space. So I don't know what was going on there. But I'm like, whatever. You know, not a huge deal. I mean, it's annoying, but not a huge deal. Here's what I did find. This is okay. I'm skipping ahead here. Back up. Pause. I'm out of line. I withdraw. So as far as the default applications are concerned, did you find them acceptable, or did you find any of their choices interesting?
There was plenty.
Here's where I was super impressed with what he managed to cram onto 400 megs. This was it. He's got LibreOffice in there. He's got GIMP. What else does he have? There's a whole lot on there that I didn't think you could fit on such a small.
Right.
I thought the same thing too. As far as the business applications, a scientific calculator on there as well. A TI-59 scientific calculator, which I thought was kind of funny. I mean, so multiple. Then the different LibreOffice, the suite. Also, the one that I really liked was the Planner Project Management. I've never seen this before. Have you seen that? That to me, so it's called PCP. No, that's Puppet Control. Where'd it go?
I need to start.
Gantt charts.
Yeah.
So going back to what Vince said, I think when you boot up the image, it says that it's using a very highly compressed compression algorithm, and you can change that so it's bigger, but then it will be much faster. It says, but that's probably how he could fit so much in it.
Yeah, when I set it up, I did the decompression and expanded the file system on the drive. So I wouldn't call it installation. That's just my easy on the go OS now. I'm gonna probably keep it on that drive. I'm not changing it. I'm gonna keep it.
Still, when you expand it, it expands to about 600 megs? Is that right? I mean, that's still pretty impressive.
I didn't test that, but I know it said that you could do that.
It's not. It's under a gig. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that is impressive. I'm not sure how that was done. But yeah, I think the whole the project planning thing, I want that application like on my main system now.
Planner Project Management.
Yeah, I thought that was really neat because like I have this problem where I'm like, oh, that's a neat project, and I do that. Oh, that's a neat project, and I do that. And then I don't properly, plan the rest of the project out when I start it. Well, I should plan it before I start the project to begin with, right? A lot of them. So I think that might be a neat tool to see if I can maybe improve my some of my processes.
So it's such a small size, and it even includes a firewall if you want to set it up. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah. So I guess like default application wise, it's definitely productive centered. The games on it were pretty rudimentary, I would say. Nothing real exciting there.
Well, I've got it opened up here, and it's got under graphic. It's got GIMP, MT Paint, Inkscape, right? A GPIC View image viewer, and quite a few other things. I'm not sure what some of them are, but I don't know how. Like Vince said, I don't know how he fits all that in this small image. It's just incredible, I have to say.
Yeah, it really was. I would say, as far as like a like the selection applications, I think targeted toward like a traditional computer use, it seems like it hits the mark 100%. Like everything you need for productivity, if you're doing report writing, project management. Is there a finance app on here? Now I wonder.
Yeah, there is. Home bank finance management.
Well, there we go. So everything to run a household or small business is already set up in here, unless your business is multimedia.
And under multimedia, you've got celluloid, multimedia player, MPV, Audacious.
I used to use that one all the time.
Oh, really? Audacious? Yeah, I've never used Audacious, I have to say.
It was back at, it's quite a while ago. The Onyx.
And quite a few other, sorry.
How many calculators do you need? There's 5 here I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. What are you calculating? Because there's scientific calculator. I mean, that's kind of cool.
How many times do you have to burn an ISO? There must be 5-6 apps just for disk imaging and ISO for a CD-ROM.
Well, you might have different flavors of ISOs that require different applications. I don't know.
So if you think about it, because this is intended to be put on a USB disk and carried around, right? So it's got everything virtually that you need on a USB. It carried around in like a 2 gigabyte USB drive.
Yes.
Yeah. That's just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got GTK calc complex numbers, calculator scientific calculator, G measures units converter, X calc scientific calculator, and Y calc TI-59 scientific calculator. That's way over my head.
And he has a network manager on there, which is a modern network management thing. It's not anything like esoteric or obscure. That was pretty cool too. Now, I couldn't figure out how to find applications in playing with it. Did anybody install anything else?
I tried.
I installed Firefox.
Oh, you did?
With the container thing.
Right.
Okay.
I switched it from, I'm not sure if you're supposed to do that, but I switched it from B something. I forget what the name of the ISO is to Bullseye. And then I think I was able to find a ESR version of Firefox, install that, and it worked. It wasn't close to a recent version of ESR because it was like 60 something. And I think their ESR Firefox is at 70 something, but it worked.
How did you install that, Aris?
You go into the container. I forgot what it's called. It's like on top left. I don't remember what it's called. SFS something.
Yeah, it's like SFS get, and then you go into there and pick where you want to get your disk.
And then
Yeah.
you click the radio button that says bullseye or something.
Oh, SFS get. Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
It's on the desktop. And you got pet, get, and apps. So you got 3 different icons there. I haven't tried those, actually. Interesting.
Because those are supposed to be container apps. I think all of them.
Right.
So that's actually a really good point to discuss on the whole the whole concept around how they're doing apps. I thought was really quite interesting. Because it's more than just installing an application, you know, on like any other Linux distribution, because it has like a you run as root like Puppy, but then each each application is run under its own like less than root container. So you would have I have an invader. He's playing with his bumblebee transformer. Anyway, so you'd have your each container then has it's like a not like a user, but a like a sub root user or thing, whatever, like a its own land, whatever. I thought it was very interesting, a different way to look at how to do applications, I guess. Did anyone like read through all those different little notes and whatnot on the whole
I started
idea?
reading some of the technical documents he has. They're pretty amazing. It's explained in the such that there's an immutable OS layer that doesn't change, and then everything else is stacked on top of that. So there's a user layer and apps layer and things like that. I mean that's only something that's really starting to be done with Silverblue, isn't it? Like that's the kind of thing that they do, and he's been doing it for a while now. Right.
And then so he uses containers, so Docker, LXC, and so forth. And then each container is extremely efficient with almost no overhead. The base size of each container is only several kilobytes, which, I mean, I don't know what several means, but it's still, I think it's a very interesting idea. But yeah, like it's kind of like Silverblue, I guess, but much lighter feeling, I would say.
The way it layers the images, I think that's inherited from Puppy. Puppy does that too.
Okay.
But I think one thing that EasyOS does is that you can easily upgrade. I think he says you have to change 3 files, and that's it. You change those 3 files, and then you're upgraded. It's supposed to be a atomic upgrade, like Silverblue, in that sense.
Right. That's interesting. Okay, so it says like a crippled root session is how it's described. So you never have to type sudo or su to run anything, nor get hung up with file
You're always
permissions.
root, but I think certain applications run under the spot like username.
Yes. Yep.
And that way they don't have a root access while they're being used.
Right, which is an interesting way of looking at how to do that. It seems a little more old school, I would say, but doesn't seem ineffective.
It's like the opposite. Like usually you don't have root, and then you ask for root privileges, and here you specifically tell an app to not be root.
Right. Yeah, it is like the opposite, isn't it? It is very interesting. So the roll back or forward, you can take a snapshot later, roll back to it, and then you can roll forward. I thought that's also a neat idea. I mean, with OpenSUSE, I only ever roll backward and then roll to next snapshots, but that's something I don't. That idea of rolling backward and forward is not something that I do. So there's my plug right there. Yeah, so I thought it was just a very different way of doing, like managing the whole computer. So I guess I was going to say Steve, he just hopped out. I don't know if maybe he's what he's doing, but I was going to say what he thought since he hasn't chimed in at all. So he does have an ARM 64 version as well. So that's cool for Raspberry Pi 3 and 4 boards. And yeah, so I thought it was pretty cool. Now, as far as like your general user experience in your exploration, did you feel like you this is something you could live with?
After trying the persistence of MX Linux USB, that was pretty handy, I have to say, and a lot easier to set up. Just going through the SFS, getting all that, I'd have to get my head around that. I can't do it while I'm on camera. I can only do one thing at a time these days, but yeah, I found MX Linux probably a little bit easier to do, but that's not to say this couldn't be handy, because it's got so much stuff on it. And if you only need a smaller USB to carry around, rather than, you know, take up like a 16 or 32 gig, you could use an 8 gig for this quite easily. So that in itself is an advantage, I see. So I could still use this. It's got plenty of tools to help you out anyway, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. What about you, Vince? What did you...
It's definitely, it's a different mindset. You've got to get your head around a different way of doing things from what we've all been used to for a very long time, right? I've heard a lot of people really, when I say a lot, I've heard people really sing the praises of Puppy Linux before this, and now with this EasyOS as well, as a bit of a traditional, a successor to, a spiritual successor to Puppy Linux. I can see how it's got this unique way of doing things, but it's unique to the point where it's actually still useful. It's not just unique for the sake of being unique. He's done it for a purpose. He's done it to have a very, very small image that boots very quickly, that doesn't take up a lot of resources, doesn't take up a lot of disk space or memory. In fact, the whole thing still loads into RAM, doesn't it? Like Puppy does. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I'm not really sure, 100%.
Yeah. So it'll once you've got it booted, it'll run really quickly. And so if you need to just hop onto the machine and do something, do some banking or whatever, or hop on a machine and fix it, it seems like it's something that you could actually just use very easily. Hence EasyOS. As long as you get your head around how to get new apps or do various other things with it.
Or find the image file. That would be the other write a passage as well.
Once you've got it written, you're fine.
Right.
Well, I actually wrote down, where did I write it? Oh, here. So on the website, I can't remember whereabouts it was, but I wrote it down. How to write easy to a flash drive. That was one of the links. That's where I found the 2.9 image, was under that link there, right? I wrote it down just in case I had to go back. Because I did get the image and I thought, oh, if I do eventually make a video about this, where did I get that image from? Because I went back to the website and I was clicking on this one, I was clicking on that one, and I couldn't find the 2.9 image. I thought, have I gone crazy? Did I get it from here, or did it? I know somebody gave a link last week, so I wasn't sure whether I got it from that or I found it myself. It's just.
I think someone was saying last week it was easier to click it from the DistroWatch announcement page.
That was the easiest way to get it.
Right, yeah, okay.
Yep, I tried going through the site to find it, but then I ended up getting lost and they weren't the right versions, so I went to the back to DistroWatch. So I never actually found it internally. You got me there, beat there, Colin. So Mark Yates, he says it's not for daily driver really. So I guess maybe it's probably more for the it feels more hobbyist or like more ultra nerdy almost, if that makes any sense. Like,
well, you know what? I've done a few videos on Puppy Linux, right? And you know what? Those just having a look at the amount of views I get, Puppy Linux is one of those ones that gets a lot of views for some reason. And there's a lot of people out there actually running it on real hardware, surprisingly. And, you know, people say been running this for, you know, a long time. And I think, you know, it does have its place for some people. I suppose people with really, really old hardware that cannot support, cannot afford to buy anything better, these type of distros are probably perfect for that. And they've got all the CD, DVD writing things. And, you know, I mean, I've got an old computer up here, a really old, I think it's I don't know, 2008 or something like that. Asus, or Asus, however you pronounce it.
Whichever.
And yeah, that's a 32-bit. So, I mean, something like that would run perfect on that thing, right? It's an old computer, right? So, you know, maybe people still have those, can't afford anything else.
Yeah,
So
I was thinking, like, if you get one of those like really small little flash drives, like one like this size, like this is like half a terabyte here, 512 gigabits, I guess what they want me to call it now, gig, something like that. Yeah, like that. Now, the problem with these are they're very easy to lose. So I leave them plugged in.
That's why he's got his on a dongle.
Well, I call that a dummy cord, which is why I didn't put it on mine, because I'm not a dummy. But putting in something like this, then it might be fun to like try this out on one of my old netbooks, just to see. Yeah, there we go. Just to see how it runs, like how it you know, an 11-year-old netbook, you know, compare that to an XFCE desktop, you know, this puppy version of puppy. I think it would be worth, you know, just for the experiment's sake, you know, how productive can you be with this versus that, you know, or how are some of the tools, you know, the tools I'm used to, which I guess that wouldn't be a very fair comparison, but you know, like to write and print a paper, like for my kids who are writing papers and have to print them off for school, is their handwriting. They should be writing them. Okay, they're not typing it. I got it. All right. But for those that are okay with typing, kids typing, you know, want them to type their paper. Anyway, I had an argument with my sister about this. So anyway, I mean, I wonder how difficult it'd be to set up a printer cassette and do that. You know, but now I'm thinking that might be the next level. You know, see how that goes.
I think whilst it's really easy to dismiss Puppy and EasyOS as just another lightweight distro or a very lightweight distro, the thing that gets me is it's very functional. You can do most of your things on there, like that you need to do. You mentioned the printing side of things. I didn't quite look into that either, but I imagine that if you got the right packages installed, and if you have, you've got access to the Debian packages as well. It should be pretty straightforward if you know what you're doing, right?
I just couldn't get anything to install. Every time I tried to install something from Debian, it just died. It just did nothing. It would say it would install it, but it just didn't work.
So this SFS package installer that Aris was talking about has all these paths in there, and it's got a path. I don't know what the Dunfell is. That's the EasyOS repo, I think, the Dunfell one. But then they've got Debian Buster. They've got, what's OE? I don't know what OE is. OE? EasyOS OE. Then they've got Fat Dog, Puppy Slackware 14.2, Puppy Slackware 15, Puppy Ubuntu Focal, and Ubuntu Xenial. So these are the paths you can choose, I think, to install packages.
Yeah, I chose a Buster, and that's how I install Firefox.
Right.
I think EasyOS, it's so highly dense, just like the image itself. There's like so many little things. Like one of the things that I found very interesting is that you can use the distro in a way that it's more secure, probably more secure than a lot of different distros. It sets itself up to RAM, and it disables all the hard drives. That way you can do all your web surfing or whatever if you go to a shady site, and then you just reboot. That's it. It's gone. That didn't affect your hard drive. That didn't affect the computer. Nothing happens to you.
That is interesting. I didn't know that. What other little tidbits of knowledge can you drop on us, Aris?
I don't know. There's just so many things. That website is, even though at first there's not that many links, there's links to links and links to other links, and just so much.
Yeah, that's why.
Once you get into it, once you get into the website, there's a lot in there. It itself is very dense as well.
Yeah. So I couldn't get wireless working on the laptop, so I had to wire it in. But I didn't really have time to investigate that. So maybe something I was missing there. I don't know. I couldn't get it to find my wireless card.
No, normally on Puppy Linux to get wireless going, what do I normally use? I don't know if it's got the same one in here.
It picked up my Wi-Fi. I could connect to wireless with Puppy. I have an Intel 7620, I think. One of the goals of EasyOS is to have nothing but GUIs. There should not be a reason to use a terminal. So GUIs for everything. It's not there, but that is one of the objectives.
I think that's a good objective. But I couldn't get. Maybe I did something wrong, but I couldn't get it to see my card. It's an older AMD Turian machine, so I don't know what kind of Wi-Fi it has in there. It's whatever I could find to try things out. So we got Prophetic is here. Steve hasn't said anything, and then Eric just popped in. Tried to tell me the things I've done wrong. Welcome. We've missed you.
You have?
Eric?
Sure have.
Howdy. What's happening?
I can't carry the show as well without, your ability to basically fill in all my knowledge gaps. So.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So there's a network menu with a whole heap of network manager tools. So I'm surprised if you don't find something to get your wireless going under that. And I have to.
Yeah.
I like the one of the menus is called Fun. it's got games under it.
I did like the fact that, okay, I see what it is. It's this NMTUI tool that actually finds the connection, finds the thing there. That's good.
Right.
So here I stand corrected, and I am standing. But yeah, no, I do like the fact they called it fun. This distribution it seems more. There's more whimsy in it. It's more whimsical, more like when computers are supposed to be fun. I feel like there's a lot more of that. Less of this serious, cool business. More fun. With bright, high contrast icons with the blue glow effect going on.
Even with Puppy, there was like a naming scheme things. There was like puplets, which are like applications. And there's, in order to build, I think, EasyOS and Puppy, you use the wolf build system or something. There's a lot of branding with the dog things.
Which I do find that funny. It's also cute.
So the Easy Apps has a lot of different selections on the side under Easy Apps and just a simple click to install. So it's got quite a few different things under Easy Apps as well. It's got like a menu on the side. Plenty of options anyway, I must say, in EasyOS.
So I do struggle a little bit, like with, well, I guess the statement was made. This would be good to have like as a toolkit to have in your computer bag. So if you're doing want to check something out, maybe do some hardware testing or network testing, this might be a method. But what kind of usages would you say this would be, like, for you?
On a daily basis, not really much, to be honest. Probably just, I suppose, if you've got other computer issues, you might start it up and check some Oh, did you say other hard drives are locked, or you can check other hard drives? Aris, did you say? I didn't do it on.
There's a mode where it loads itself to RAM and it disables all hard drives. You cannot access the hard drives. That way, in case you catch a virus or something, nothing happens to your computer. You just reboot.
Okay.
Wow, look, all these people are just pouring in. I think it's because Eric showed up, and they're like, "Oh, well, since Eric's here, we don't have to."
Yeah, that's what happens. Apparently, they were all just waiting for me.
Yeah, so we don't have to listen to that slack jaw cubicle Nate anymore. So that's probably what was happening there.
Thankfully.
What jaw?
Slack, not scrap.
What jaw? Oh.
Slack. Like I'm some kind of Neanderthal. So cool. So I know I haven't heard from Prophetic on his take of the EasyOS, or Steve, or now Adam. He can probably fire away at something obnoxious that he could say about he doesn't use Linux or something like that.
Hey,
And
so, oh yeah, Shickle, did he try it? Did you try it?
Sorry, this is for. Is it working?
It is.
Yes, it is.
It is.
It's the first time using it on my phone in like 3 years, so I don't know how that works.
I still don't.
Okay.
Yeah. What did I try?
EasyOS.
Did you try EasyOS?
I did not.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right.
I
It's all
tried it
good.
briefly, because I liked it a lot. Like it was so much fun just banging on it, and I went back. I went to this puppy just because it reminded me so much of Puppy, and then I got lost in Puppy World. But it was definitely experimental, because me changing a theme and it caused it to crash. And certain things just rough around the edges, very fragmented in how to get apps, different things, but cool, in terms of like how they just have different ways, and each way had its own sliver of a benefit or angle to it, like a gimmick almost. And it was kind of cool that someone's trying to try different things and just throwing everything at the wall and see what sticks. But
Was it different than Puppy?
it was. That's what kind of made me want to jump, because it was different, but not different enough to make me say like, oh wow, this is super unique, that I'm going to keep on trying this out. I just went to Puppy.
Yeah, I just read I didn't try it. I just read the website, and just reading through it, I was kind of like, oh well, that's from Puppy, and that's from Puppy, and that's from Puppy. And
I think it has like a handful more ways of how to get apps on it. I think that's really one of the things that's experimental, like different forms of getting software onto it.
Got it.
You say fragmented, and although I agree, but also it seems very open-ended as well. So like if you have different methods that you prefer, it doesn't really lock you into a method. So I guess that could be considered fragmented, or maybe it's inclusive. I'm just saying.
Diverse.
Yep.
Or maybe it's just Linux.
That is
Yes.
Linux.
But it was really a fun blast from the past. But in terms of the use case, I remember I used to have it on my keychain years ago, and when I was a student, the computer labs had a time limit. And of course, I'm doing a paper last minute, and I need more than just an hour or more than just 15 minutes to print something out. I would literally just boot the lab computer with Puppy and work on my papers, and override the time limit there. And even the printers would work even with it too sometimes. So and obviously, if you're not a student, that doesn't apply, but I would even carry it around if I'm going to my sister's house for the weekend or someone's house, and I didn't have my computer, but I wanted to look something up and I don't trust their system. I would definitely boot that thing up and do some quick web surfing, and to be on the safe side.
Yeah, that's a good call. And I think that as a use case, that's a good use case.
Yeah, I think the other use cases are probably like if you're in a hotel, if you like to have breakfast at some restaurant or something, or at the airport.
That's a good one.
It's just quick access, and then you can use it sign up to whatever and then just shut it down and done deal. So I think it comes in handy there. I think they're really good use cases, to be honest.
Yeah. Although I'd hopefully have my laptop with me in a hotel so I can run my VPN to, make sure no one's snooping on me. But
they're
just
watching
saying.
you.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know.
hotels are atrocious. One time, unfortunately, I was at a hotel for work, and I randomly saw a Bluetooth transfer of files going. Like, it's really bad hotel security and lack thereof. That's scary. So
I love being at the airport and somebody will open up a Wi-Fi access point like free_Wi-Fi, and you just know like it's probably someone just playing around. I don't know how nefarious it is, but you just know people don't think twice about connecting.
Is that when you start playing Spot the Fed?
Yeah, something like that, right?
What if you should just connect to those things and just kind of mess around and see what happens?
Yeah, if you
people really don't. Yeah, and people just don't even think about it, because honestly, they don't really think about the fact that I don't know. I guess why would they, right? I mean, who would understand how networks work and that kind of stuff? They just say their phone says, "Hey, do you want to connect?" And they say, "Sure," and there you go.
Yeah, my Instagram stories aren't loading fast enough. Let me get this
Wi-Fi. Right.
And you can get caught with evil twin attacks. An evil twin attack is like something I've messed with. I found. Go to your thrift stores. You will find Nighthawk routers sometimes.
I've seen one, yes.
I love it. It's kind of cool. I've been playing with, this kind of stuff because I have a nice router. But yeah, your phone will automatically connect to a Wi-Fi if that person is able to, one, duplicate a Wi-Fi that's publicly available, and two, change their MAC ID.
That's true.
So if I'm out and about, I turn my Wi-Fi off and I just use the data.
I do the same thing. I've recently accepted privacy into my life, and so I've got a lot of stuff disabled now. Wi-Fi is only ever on when I'm at home, and if it's on when I'm like not at home, like I'm always connected to a VPN, and I don't have anything set up to allow what do they call it, the always on VPN, where it doesn't let traffic through any of the other networks, whether it's cellular or Wi-Fi, unless it's actually routing through the VPN first. So that's pretty nice.
Still liking Tailscale?
You almost have to do that because there's so many apps on your phone that are going to connect to as soon as it gets a Wi-Fi connection, even if it's like apps that you tell don't use, cell connection.
Yeah.
Like it's like it's a rush of data. And
I actually had that problem a lot on iOS, and it's probably the only reason I wouldn't go back is because I didn't find a setting anywhere that forces that, and Android has that setting. Every time on iOS, like when you put your phone away for a little bit, it goes into this weird sleep state where it sort of semi disconnects things. Like your VPN will turn off for a little bit, your Wi-Fi will go into like a low power mode and all that. So when it turns back on, when you go to wake up your phone, the VPN's not immediately connected. And in those moments, a ton of stuff goes in and out before it even connects. Like it doesn't even ask.
Yep.
So it's a little scary, actually.
Yep. Guruduru, what is it? Gurudonu. Yeah, Gurudonu says, so the VPN can collect everything and sell it to third parties. That's true, I guess, if you're using a scummy VPN. But you can also pretty easily roll an open VPN or even a WireGuard VPN.
I think a big part of it for me is that I at least with my VPN, I trust them more than I trust like X Wi-Fi network and that Wi-Fi network.
Right, exactly. But someone was doing that. I forget who it was. It was someone in this group that had been testing a DigitalOcean droplet with OpenVPN.
I did it a few years ago.
Okay.
It works. I used it to create a reverse gateway back into my home machines.
Okay.
So you create a router in the internet in the cloud, and then whatever device you have that has access to that, you can then create a bridge. I forget how to do it. It's been a while, but yeah. And then you can just VPN into that and then SSH into home, and it works.
This sounds almost like what Tailscale does, except
manual.
Yeah.
Full manual.
That's kind of cool, actually.
6-speed transmission with a clutch.
Well, but if you just set it up the way you want it, though, you can spin it up, use it as you need it, and then destroy the droplet, and then have a backup of it or something like that, and be able to deploy it really quickly. Yeah, I'm struggling to remember who it was, because that's exactly what they would do when they would travel. They would go to DigitalOcean, spin up a droplet, go, do their weekly travel or whatever, use that connection the whole time. And it was both a VPN as well as a gateway back to their home network. And then when they'd get home, they would just basically destroy the droplet and be done with it. So
just back up your RSA keys and everything.
Yeah. It was just very, very easy and very slick to do. And yeah, if you can actually have your RSA keys and stuff on file at DigitalOcean, and whenever you spin it up, it just automatically, adds them to the machine. Yeah, it's bugging me who that was now, because it was really slick, and I thought, oh geez, if I was still traveling, I would do that. Because you're probably not going to get like top network speed, but if you're on like hotel Wi-Fi, you're not getting great connection speed anyway. It's really just enough to be able to check check your email, and feel more comfortable about having a more private connection, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
I had been thinking about doing something similar to that, but using a Raspberry Pi and using Pi VPN, so that you could connect back to your own network at home and bypass your open Wi-Fi networks.
The only problem with running a VPN at home is now you're opening your ports.
Right. That's exactly right.
That's why.
That's the one thing I haven't thought of. Like I thought about and hadn't really implemented yet.
And I think even bigger problem.
So many like CVEs or whatever and 0 days that are out there, or somebody's just waiting to create a botnet with something, or someone's got a VPN at home, and it's like DigitalOcean. I'd rather have some kind of thing out there. Like, it's no different doing that than doing your finances. Like, I have a handful of virtual bank accounts, whether it's a Cash App or something else, and I'll use those online or out and about before I'll ever use my main bank account or I pay bills out of. So, sorry. So
there's also
do that. Virtual cards, and I don't give my actual card number to anybody. My audio
privacy is a pretty cool service.
You were trying to say something there, Shickle. I was in a flow, and I was like, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I liked it. That was good. That was a good point, actually, because like I think it was like only a year or two ago that didn't we have like 3 major like Wi-Fi vulnerabilities in a row that were all like super bad.
They were all with WPS. Like if you have WPS enabled, which is that one button, like most of your neighbors, or there was the WPS one. There's one where Netgear was putting routers out with defaults that were basically what was it? It was adjective, noun, and a number. And somebody posted that on if you're into Wi-Fi hacking or like using Kali, go to like Wi-Fi. Do you ever use Wi-Fi or anything like that, or Netcat? Netcat, there's a forum for it. Someone posted the entire list. It's kind of hilarious because I have some neighbors with that exact same setup, and you can see it'll say Netgear with a number, and in that guy's post on the Netcat forum, he's got like just a sample, and I was like, there's that. So I tried it, but then I know the guy, and I know he changed his password, and I was like, whatever. But that stuff happens. Those kinds of lists get out there. And so always change your password from the defaults. Never leave the SSH stuff open or the telnet or any of that. Even like if you put tomato on something like this thing has tomato on it, but when it's default, it's like tomato or admin or something really basic, and all of the things are open. So don't connect the yellow one until you go in through the blue ones and change everything.
Yep.
Just lock it down.
Yep. Well, I don't know. I think a common thing in America is that our ISPs tend to have really poor like outbound connections. So like from your home connection out, they tend to be abysmal. And I don't know how many other countries it's common in, but like if you were using your home network as a VPN, it like I can sense some serious performance issues going on there.
There are some differences. Like I'm on Spectrum, I get pretty decent down, but my up is like a third of that.
Yeah.
But my brother, which is like I'm in town, and I have a backbone connection running through city here for a couple different kinds of utilities. But why can't I get symmetrical up and down? My brother has 300 symmetrical in the middle of the woods because he's just on the outside of where the cartels drew their freaking lines in the sand. I'm not kidding. He's got fiber to his big ass farmhouse. Excuse the word language, but like that, you know, he's got that out there. It's like, who needs it in the middle of nowhere? Although, you know,
he
some
does.
days you wish, right? Yeah, he's got all kinds of things going on, except he doesn't even tap an nth of his up speeds. And I'm like, bro,
Hey, don't hate now. Jaw, don't hate.
I'm not hating. I'm just saying. I'm like, I'm in town. I come home. Sometimes I want to upload things, and all he does is play Call of Duty.
You know, just want to upload something, and
I got video streams. I got video streams I want to mess with.
What's he got? Nothing.
It happens.
Yeah, there's no wired infrastructure to this area, so I'm bouncing off of cell towers to get my internet, and actually I have better upload speeds than I did with Comcast. Oop, I said the bad word. The Scamcast. Yeah. So, like twice as good upload, but my download is about a third. So
you're not Comcastic?
No, I'm not Scamcastic. Nope.
Could be like my parents and be held hostage by the one cable, podunk cable company that's the local telco company that has the most abysmal. Like I do video chat with them, and it is always bad. No matter where they are in the house, no matter what time of day it is, no matter it just doesn't matter. Their connection is terrible. And I'm like, Dad, don't you call and complain? He's like, there's nothing they can do. It's terrible. It's basically just for this one little town, one little like 3-town cluster. And that's all. That's the only option other than satellite.
It's like the one local ISP that just would not let go. It's like, we're not going to sell out to the big telecos. We're going to continue to run our abysmal.
I don't think the big telecos even wanted them because that's how few customers there are. It's just like
that's probably the case. Yeah,
the infrastructure is so old that it's not worth running new line.
Starlink.
It was more cost effective here to run multiple internet lines in than it was to like have them redo it with like better hardware. So I have multiple like connections into the house that are like all bridged into one, which is like cool that I can do it. Stupid that I have to do it, but also like handy because if one of them like doesn't work, it immediately failovers to the other ones, and like I lose nothing, which is so.
What's a plus?
It's got some benefits, but also like it's very expensive, so I'm not super thrilled.
So I wonder, Eric, would something like a Pi hole be good for your parents because that would cut a lot of the extra cruft? Because it made a huge difference for me.
It would, but I think it's less about the saturation than it is latency for them.
Okay.
It's not so much that they have, because they don't really have many devices either. That's a big factor for me, is just having a lot of little chatty devices. They have one laptop, one PC, and 2 cell phones. I think that's probably all they have. And so it's really much more about just the upstream latency. And the condition of the cabling that goes from the telco to their house. So, it's as good as it's going to get. And, for the most part, I think they're fine with it. I mean, if they don't do a lot of streaming, they're still cable TV people, and, I guess it just doesn't, and that's probably true of most of the people, I would guess. And well, that's probably unfair. Certainly people of their generation, but I guess any younger people that are there are probably suffering. I know that the cell reception, like you're saying, is actually probably faster than the terrestrial internet. So I would guess that a lot of people are just on unlimited, data plans, and that's probably what they're doing for internet.
Just root that phone, USB tethered.
Yep.
Well, I actually have a dish that's on a tower that's actually pointing at a cell tower. So I got really good, much better than a cell phone can do as far as like quality of service. So, and it's unlimited.
You can buy those repeaters, like the ones like for the Sprint or wherever. You can like put those devices in the house too, that kind of stuff.
If you have thick walls and stuff like that, yeah. Yeah, that's actually the living in a flat area. Like Florida is very flat, so there's nowhere to put a tower that's high up. And most people, there are height restrictions on things, and most people don't want tall towers near them. So it can be challenging to get a cell signal, even though there's great line of sight. It's kind of a weird thing. Whereas if I go up, where it's not so flat, you have generally better reception, because then they put the towers on taller structures or taller, features in the landscape. So it always amazes me. I can be in my house and not get a decent cell signal. And, there is a tower not that far away, but it's just not quite in line of sight. So I've often thought, like, would a repeater make a difference in my house? But never, I don't know. I guess I never cared enough. I have my good synchronous 250
wow
connection, and it's good.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's nice. It's fiber, so it's pretty reliable, pretty stable, low latency. It's good stuff.
Well, not to I want to put a button on the EasyOS talk and then move on to other things. Although it did grow organically, and now I'm trimming it, so I apologize for that. But I just want to put a button on it.
It's a great.
So yeah, great, yeah. So if you're going to recommend EasyOS, what would you say would be its unique competitive edge, which you would say for someone to try EasyOS, for those that tried it?
Accessible on any computer if it's written to USB.
Okay.
And plenty of tools to go with it. That's how I look at it.
They're very accessible, not easy to set up.
Just because you can run it and have it be persistent from the USB itself. So, like Prophetic was saying, if you were doing work and you had something on it, you could literally just go to a computer and start that PC up with that stick, and it's just running. Everything's running from there.
Right. And also the RAM feature too. I think it has that Eris was talking about. He dropped that knowledge bomb where it doesn't write to the disk, so nothing is logged. So everything is temporal. That's pretty cool. And I like the idea of the container, like everything is a container that sits on top of it. All the applications are containered and are on a crippled root user, essentially. So you, the user, as root, which still makes me feel a little bit jumpy, but I understand where they're coming from. And then every application that runs underneath it is on a crippled root session. So
a crippled Ute.
Crippled Ute, yeah. Poor Ute.
I'm just imagining it with like no wheels on it.
I was thinking like Tiny Tim from A Christmas Carol, but okay, he's a Ute.
I was thinking my cousin Vinny, but what's a Ute?
Is a Ute?
Yeah.
And goodwill towards all men.
So EasyOS, that's pretty cool. So I want to also knock out. So next week, I would really like to do some testing for MX Linux, since Colin's really been on that train already, and they're getting ready to do a release. I'd like to maybe, for those that want to explore and, maybe help out, unless somebody has something else that they'd like to throw out there that they would rather try out. We already did elementary, Chickle.
So you're talking about the beta, right?
Yeah,
The beta.
the beta.
MX.
Yeah, and if as I stutter, if you have run MX in the past, maybe some glancing differences between them. Say like how are things? How does it compare to your previous experience with MX and so forth?
And also just to elaborate on that, they have made changes to their installer. So that's what I'm finding very interesting with MX at the moment.
Oh, okay.
So they've refreshed the installer a bit. So I'm, doing some videos on that and just getting to learn and know all about it. So
That's interesting. I always thought their installer was pretty good too. So hopefully they didn't change it too much.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty great.
It's so quick. It asks you the questions, and while it's asking you, it's installing in the background. So by the time you finish answering the questions, it's already done it. Like,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I like too that it actually explains what the questions mean, right? What your choices mean. A lot of people obviously would know just habitual, distro hoppers and things like that, but someone who may not know wouldn't understand the choice being requested. And I always loved it that on the left-hand side, they just have a verbose description of this is what this means and this is what this means. So
because the current release is 19.4 and this is a beta 21 MX Linux 21 beta 2.
Yeah.
So they're going with the year. Okay.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be interesting to try out. Unless somebody else has something else that they would rather try out, but MX is I feel like it's calling me.
No, MX. Last time I tried MX, I couldn't get a USB thing to work. It's the persistence or whatever. I don't know what I did wrong. I think
go and watch my video if you want. I just did one on that. So
it's been a while. So there's probably been some updates.
So last week Okay, Chico, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say one of the things that I like about MX too is in like the USB boot options. It has all the like boot to RAM and like those kinds of options in there. That's pretty nice to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the custom ISO where you basically get it all set up the way you want, take a snapshot, and then that's the ISO you can then deploy or just boot from as a live ISO as well.
I think that's what I tried, and that might have been my mistake. And I didn't really use the tool properly.
Yeah, someone had said in chat, isn't it just Debian with XFCE? And like a lot of good distributions, really, it's less about the desktop environment and the underlying distribution as it is the tool set. And I think the strength of MX has always been that they have this really cool set of tools that lets you administer the system and do different things, useful tools. So that's kind of that's why I'm always interested in taking a look at new releases, is to see like have they added anything, changed anything. But in terms of like PC rescue distros, I always think MX is like way up on the top of the list for having a live ISO of that lying around to be able to boot from.
I was watching this video from Dolphin, and there's a capability in MX so that you boot to RAM, the distro, right? And then you change it to whatever you want to install the applications. And while the key's still in the computer, but you're not using it because you put it to RAM, you clone the distro you're using right now because you made all these changes back to the same drive.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
I never heard anybody else do that, but apparently you can do it with MX.
That's kind of how
you don't
Kali
even have to download a new ISO.
Yeah, that's kind of like one of the things I think Kali had done before, where you would put it in, and you have all the different boot options for like just a live or persistence or whatever, or diagnostic and all those things. And we're talking about tool sets and basically use case paradigms, right? Kali's kind of in that same, even though it's more like pen testing and hacker, but like you guys are talking about the same thing. Like you could install it back to its own USB drive, which was cool. Like they've done that. They've done it forever. But that's neat that some other distros starting to do something with that.
It's quite incredible because when you do install MX, when I do, like when you're running a live USB or the live desktop and you install Simple Screen Recorder and you're on real hardware, once you restart the fresh install, anything that you have installed while you're running the live environment is actually still there after you restart the installed system. So that's pretty good as well. And any desktop changes you can choose to keep the desktop and all the changes that you've made as well. So that's handy. So once you get into the boot into the fresh desktop, whatever you've installed on the live desktop is already there. It's really handy. So you don't have to repeat everything that you've just done. So it's good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because I don't even think Kali did it like that. They just had the ability to then, install the OS back to the USB, but it was just like you're saying, it doesn't retain. And that's the other thing is there are some distros, or most distros I've run into, where I knew I could, apt update, install various things. If I had an internet connection, if I had Ethernet or didn't have or didn't have Wi-Fi, or maybe the Wi-Fi worked on the live thing or whatever, say I just needed to do some basic things, but I didn't have those installed free on the USB, but I'd have to get them over, the repos. I could do that and I could mess with them for a little bit, but even then, like a lot of them didn't work the way they do when everything's installed. My question would be, does MX, when it loads in that live environment, does it work as if it's an installed operating system, or does it have those weird quirks like other live OSs do, where things don't behave properly?
It should work normally. One of the reasons that a lot of other live ISOs work that way is because, the first issue is that the packages that are installed and like the set of packages, all of that is in like a sort of like sleep state from when it was made. And when you go to install stuff, it's going to pull in packages in a sort of like out of order phase. So that will break some things. But also it's set up in a way where a lot of services aren't running that would typically be assigned to and running like on a normal installed OS. All of these things should be working on MX, and they were the last time I checked. So like you would be able to just open up OBS and record stuff normally. You would be able to, install and run apps that use systemd timers, all of that stuff. All of that should work normally.
That'd be awesome if we could do something with MX on Raspberry Pi like that, because doing a Raspberry Pi USB boot is kind of all kinds of things. It'd be great. Just plug in and USB and there's MX on the Pi and it's operating from the boot, out of the box, like literally out of the box working. That'd be great. But I'll try it on my laptop. I don't care. I'll go for it.
Well,
It
MX
looks
has a version, doesn't it?
Yeah, they have
Raspberry
they have Raspberry Pi version.
Yep.
MX does do that?
Yep.
Because if
I've never used a Raspberry Pi.
If I can,
never tried one. Sorry.
You're fine. If I can abuse MX with my audio setup, because I've been using the same one since you guys, since you guys have met me, that would be amazing.
Scrapjaw, do you use any snaps for any of your audio software?
I don't think I'm using any snaps. I just hit KX Studio and it's a lot of apt-get install. And then there's a handful of little. I have a GitHub. I need to update it. I haven't updated it in a while, but it's basically the same principle. You'll see my audio text scripts in there, and Yeah, it does like the PC AM and PCMD. It's like the pulse audio control modules, and it bridges jack together for me and everything. And at this point, if I'm here at my desk and I'm connected to my interface, I just /start jack.sh, and it works every single time. I can update, it doesn't break, it's fine, it's great.
Nice.
So if MX will take it on a USB, like you say it will, maybe I will be impressed.
Well, I don't know if they have a new beta release of the Raspberry Pi version. Like I was searching just now, I didn't see that, but they do have a Raspberry Pi version that was released on February 20th this year. So that might be worth just playing with also, I think.
Colin, have you seriously never played around with the Raspberry Pi?
Never touch one. And a lot of people tell me once you use one, you'll want to keep using it. So I haven't gone down that rabbit hole yet.
Yep. For some people, single board computers are like they're kind of like my craft beer, if that makes any sense. Like some people are into craft beer. I'm not, but I'm into small single board computers. I think like once you get one, you want to try another and try another. It's a bad habit.
Well, they're just such a cheap way to really supercharge a project, like your lighting projects, Nate, and just stuff like that. Like I personally had mine for years before I found a use for it, because I just don't tinker like let's say Nate would. So for me, the Pi hole is really the only thing I've found to do with it. But I could imagine, let's say if I had an office, I would probably find a lot more things to do with it in an office environment, like something with, I don't know, security cameras, or there's probably, a dozen use cases in a public setting that it would be much more useful than I've figured out here. But I think a lot of
diagnostic tool.
Yeah. And I I think it's be great for maybe my daughter, like if she wants to get into learning how to do anything with like robotics or programming, that kind of stuff, to be able to play with them. Single board computers are great because they're just so inexpensive and they're so extensible that you can get the base system and then, add things, get a camera module, get a temperature sensor module, get a, whatever thing you're trying to do. You just build on top of it. And that's pretty cool. I think I think my next foray is really going to be in 3D printing. That's the thing I think right now that's really captivating to me.
Octopi, that would be the project, the Raspberry Pi project that's related to that. And then you can build. Yeah, so you can do it. You can use it in various ways, but one is you can build the entire 3D printer off of Raspberry Pi, or you can have the Raspberry Pi monitor the printer and basically be like your print spooler for the printer. There's different things you can do with it. Mm-hmm. So
cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think people are always talking about Raspberry Pi as if it can replace your computer, but I don't think that's a good way to look at it. Personally, I think it's better if single use, like a mini server. There's so many things you can do very well because it's so low energy, low cost, easy to replaceable.
Well, you think about a PC, a generalist PC, right? It's a tool that is capable of performing a lot of different things and a lot of different things simultaneously. And I think of a single board computer as being very much more task oriented. Yes, it can multitask and it can do several different things at one time. But I would think of it in terms of, this is what I'm using it for. This is the application for this specific thing. It's much more geared toward, okay, I'm going to get this for this project and I need this component. Like Adam's work, the school district had some issue with, they needed to be able to measure humidity in the server room. And they could have gotten a commercial solution that would have been like hundreds of thousands of dollars or something like that. And instead, I think they figured out a way to build out homegrown solution with Raspberry Pis and hygrometers. I think that's what that's called, to measure the moisture in the air, and then chain them together, and had several of them that worked in series. And then if there was any water anywhere, then they would be able to, alert. And so I think of it in those terms. So the latest ones are more powerful, and you could run like the Raspbian. That's not called Raspbian anymore, right?
Raspberry, it's Raspberry Pi OS now.
Pi OS, okay, Raspberry Pi OS. Like, you can run a desktop off of it, and it's not terrible. You can. But yeah,
400s are pretty nice.
Yeah. I just think I agree with you, Eris. It's much more about like, I wouldn't say like, oh, if you want a cheap computer, get a Raspberry Pi, like, because I don't think it's going to be the best experience. There's not I don't know.
Yeah, you're better off with a Chromebook at that point. But
Yeah.
I think also like the web is so bloated, and it's getting more and more bloated for web browsers. It's like, yeah, the Raspberry Pi 4 is like definitely tolerable. It's definitely, depending on what you're doing, for single task, it'd be a great experience. But once you start getting to like the weeds with like multitasking for long periods of time, that thing does tend to overheat and fail, and something comes up and it freezes, and just we gotta be careful about saying like, oh, it's just as good as a desktop. Like, I don't know why people try to say that too much.
Well, and it's inexpensive for a reason, right? You're not why tax a system whenever maybe adding a second one for another 40 or 50 or $70 or whatever would, that's what I'm saying. I don't see it as being, yes, you can do it, but I think it's much more about that's why it has that big header, on it, so that you can put all the different attachments and do different things with it. But it's, not a great desktop.
I think the most task heavy, or rather process heavy thing I've done with the Pi was I ran a synthesizer called Sunvox by a Russian developer, and I ran that with a keyboard bass, and also I ran my bass into it. He actually built a thing where it could detect the pitch of your instrument when you run it in, and I have the 7-inch touchscreen, so I can move my modules and things around. That was the most intensive thing I think that thing can handle, because audio is not really intensive, but then it has an interface, like a visual interface, like some retro thing out of Tron or something. But like I've seen people do it headless, where they pre-program all their synths and everything, and they put like basically turn it into a MIDI controller, and they put buttons and stuff, and it's amazing for that kind of stuff too. But you're right, like if you're gonna do a whole bunch of other things, but like hammer it with one good thing.
Another thought is that everybody, we Raspberry Pi is sort of the face of single board computing, but there are so many different manufacturers and different types of single board computers available out there for different applications. And it's amazing to, like, I'm not even into it, and I just peripherally know that there are so many different manufacturers. And what is it? Who's the British guy that does a lot?
Explaining computers.
Yeah, Explaining Computers.
Yeah, that guy has a lot. I was actually just thinking
Christopher Barrett. Yeah, he does. Yep. Yeah.
He has some really neat stuff that he's done with Raspberry Pi and explaining the different capabilities and the performance of different single board computers, to include x86 based computers and how they perform, versus their ARM counterparts. Really interesting stuff.
I think the best way to describe the Raspberry Pi to somebody that's kind of looking into getting into it is, think of a Swiss Army knife. You can only use one tool at a time on that thing, but you have all of them. Right?
Yeah.
There you go.
I think I'm not sure, Eric, whether it was you or not, but somebody on Biddle did say they used to host their own web servers with a Raspberry Pi. Is that right? Is that what some people do with them?
You could.
I mean, you could, but you couldn't get any real decent like throughput. I mean, it's a lot of that stuff becomes pretty processor intensive when you're serving
okay.
pages and stuff. So
right.
You gotta hope and pray no one's like your website's not popular because that thing will crash.
Right.
Cluster.
So it'd be perfect
maybe
for
I got
like
that wrong.
it'd be perfect for something like cubiclenate.com because
I think that also goes against your terms of service. You can't have a server, I think, for a consumer internet.
For Raspberry Pi?
No, just
for your
on your ISP. It depends. Some ISPs don't care.
I must have misunderstood maybe it was something else they were talking about.
Maybe
I
I
think
can
if you're
talk
not
my
doing e-commerce either, like that's another factor too. If it's just like a personal blog, you can. But if you're doing business, then that's what.
Maybe I can talk my brother into let me use his symmetrical internet to put a server in his basement.
might be fine for him. Yeah.
Prophetic years ago, I was one of the first wave of home virtual workers from my company, and we had via voice over IP phones, and I had Comcast, and they didn't want to allow the traffic. They were going to make me get a professional plan because of the VoIP traffic. And I was just like, come on, man. Like you can, well, that's not standard, home based usage.
Use case, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, come on. We were able to get around it, but yeah, some of the terms of service do that. And I guess there's a reason for it, but a lot of it, maybe it's because of the P2P stuff, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's like the whole like Hollywood stuff. As long as you're not going crazy with the because a lot of people deal with just I guess what's the tripwire is like bandwidth and traffic, and most people get away with it though.
Quit watching Hanna-Barbera cartoons on Pirate Bay. Go get HBO.
What's Pirate Bay? I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I heard about it somewhere. I think
Never heard of it.
I was just, just riffing.
Sounds like a bunch of scallywags. Place a bunch of scallywags.
Scallywags.
Salty sea dogs.
False flag.
Well, maybe a use case for Raspberry Pi for me is I've got my laptop here that I'm running. I've got some movies on there on the hard drive because I was testing out Plex and how to run a Plex server within the home to play movies. So maybe the only thing I couldn't do is when the hard drive is connected via USB, Plex won't see that USB. I don't know if I can't find it or whether it's probably the user error, because normally when it comes to me, it's user error. But I couldn't connect a USB for some reason. Now, whether it was because it, sorry,
I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say
I would
double check, because I have run Plex from a Raspberry Pi, and it works, but the biggest problem is if it has to transcode any of the media, so it has to change the bit rate or anything like that, like where it has to try to. It's woefully anemic at being able to do that.
So not a good idea then.
If you have, so you can set Plex to, whenever you add new media, you can set it to automatically transcode, and it just does it in the background, and then it's stored pre-transcoded. So depending on the device, it'll so then when you let's say start playing it from a mobile device from your small screen, it won't have to do it on the fly, because it can just play that different copy. Plex is pretty smart about how they handle transcoding and stuff like that. So I've been a Plex user for a long time. They've gotten pretty good at that. I can run it from my NAS, which is a pretty wimpy processor, and I'll do that too, where I just set it to pre-transcode the video into several different sort of formats, and that way it's just ready whenever I need it. It does it all in the background, just like overnight and stuff like that.
So you keep all your media on the local drive, on the local hard drive, or via USB?
Yeah. Well, no, it's So for me, I actually have my Plex server running on a PC, just because I had it on a Pi just to play around with it, and then I had it on my NAS, and I don't love having too many things running on, like, to me the NAS is supposed to be doing file saving, file serving and backups, and basically, a couple little network things that I like it doing. But Plex is kind of a processor intensive application, sort of running a lot of threads and sort of columns. And so I'd rather have it be on something that's and I have a PC that's in my office running anyway, that's usually not doing very much, so I just have Plex server installed on it. But the files for the libraries are all stored on that NAS on the network. So I have the media libraries are mapped as network shares from the NAS, and it reads them and serves them from the network.
Right.
So
I have an MB server that I think I set up some time ago. I think I told you about that, Eric. And same install. I've been upgrading it since. But it also has some. I don't know if it's it does on the fly. It does say it does some kind of transcoding, but I don't know if it transcodes for all the different levels or if it does that on the fly. I have no idea. But it doesn't.
You can tell it. Yeah, you can tell it to do that. It's not default behavior, I don't think.
Okay. But
sorry, I didn't mean
no,
to
it's so
interrupt you,
cool.
but yeah.
But
yeah.
Yeah, but I call it Netflix.
Netflix.
Nice.
That's so good.
That's good. Could have been CubeFlix.
Yeah, but
I tip my beverage to you, sir.
But it doesn't come off the tongue quite as well, CubeFlix. But anyway, yeah, and that's
all of my computers are named after characters from Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh, nice.
That's going back a ways for people.
Are you using Pedro then? Is that your main system?
Well, Rex is my laptop, Rex Quando, and yeah, Pedro is my desktop.
That's awesome.
LaFonda is one of my networks.
I want to do that for Nacho Libre.
Nacho Libre, that'd be a good one.
Yeah.
I gotta do that same idea.
I was like, I want to have some sort of naming convention for all the different PCs on my net, and just different computers and stuff. And I was doing like hodgepodge. I'd pull like a Lord of the Rings reference or a Star Trek reference, and I just finally was like, okay, I need something where And at the time, my wife and I had just seen Napoleon Dynamite, so that's where that came from.
Yeah, I'm still in the hodgepodge.
Yeah.
Is your NAS named Winnebago?
No, the NAS is Napoleon.
Oh, there you go.
N for NAS, N for Napoleon.
All right, so you hackers out there, you know what his systems are called.
That's right. My Wi-Fi is Uncle Rico.
Somebody's building a dictionary right now.
Oh, I'm sure somebody out there has every pertinent piece of information about. They probably know more about me than I know about myself at this point.
Yeah, I have a combination of like Greek mythology, Transformers, and Star Trek. It's kind of all mixed together. So
nice.
I like that idea though, because I've always had a hard time naming my stuff. So I gotta pick a theme.
Yeah, and that's. I was just tired of trying to come up with something. So.
Yeah, when I was in my Transformers phase is when I built the server, so it's called Prime, because it's Prime,
Oh, I would have guessed that, yeah. Not Starscream?
No.
No, that's the Raspberry Pi.
Oh, yeah.
So
I get mad, it can fly across and run away.
You can throw it across the room and it breaks, you don't care, because it's cheap.
That's true. So the end of summer kind of marks some changes, with getting cooler out now as of late, which has been nice since.
Thank goodness.
I'm still not quite done with my air conditioning. But but does it change like how you use or your interest in technology as it gets cooler out? Do you find yourself using stuff more inside? Because like I in the summertime, I'm not really inside all that much. I'm a little bit, but not a whole lot. So I don't know how is that for, maybe for Florida it's different because when it's summertime you can't be outside, I guess, for some people. Or Arizona, you melt if you walk on the pavement. I understand in Arizona.
I have a problem using my phone outside because like it's so hot here and it's all direct sunlight too. Like there's just never cloudy enough. So if I'm outside with my phone in my hand, or actually even just having it in my pocket, it gets so hot so fast. I like multiple times during the season, I have to like emergency cool my phone and hold it up against like cold airflow because, like I'll be walking outside and I'll have my phone on me and the screen is just hot. Like it hurts to actually physically touch the phone.
That's dangerous.
Get one of those. Get one of those like tuxedo white Samsung devices and take it out of your OtterBox.
We don't need fried chicken here.
Last time I was in Arizona, I landed in Phoenix at it was after midnight, and I came out of the terminal and it was still over 110 degrees, and I was just
it just doesn't feel right. No,
the sliding doors open like you're walking into an oven. Like, oh my goodness. So it's not quite that hot here, but it's very swampy and humid. So does it change the use of my technology? It changes where I use my technology, I think. So I've actually been looking forward to it cooling down so that I can be outside a little more especially during the day. And I'm looking forward to picking up my laptop and working outside, on the back porch, or just having the option of being outside, because during the day, during the summer, it's usually just way too hot to be able to do that. So you're muted.
I'm talking while muted, and
there you go.
And everybody likes that better. But the what I was thinking is like wintertime, I have a problem where I have to put my phone inside my thermal, like my electric thermal vest, because it gets so cold here, it'll shut down from being too cold. Like it'll just go into emergency shutdown. So there's that too. I don't know what's the cause of that, but that's fun. But I know I find that like in the like this time of year I'm doing more because of school starting back up, and I work with my kids a lot, with their assignments and so forth. That I'm on the computer more now because it's because of that, all the learning and such went from outdoor learning to indoor learning, and also it kind of changed. Like I'm listening to podcasts more again too. I find as it gets cooler. I don't know if is that something that anybody else does more of, or is it just me?
Just you.
Okay, that's fair. So thanks, Steve, for actually saying 2 words so far. Do you have anything else you would like to contribute?
No,
careful what you wish for.
Yeah, careful what. Yeah. Well, since Adam dropped off, don't know when he went. Wasn't paying attention. No, just it's been a long couple weeks with tech issues here at home. I haven't been able to do anything but try to get my main system going. Ended up purchasing a Western Digital 500 gig SSD, and I finally went full pop as my main system. But now I'm having issues getting a backup going so I can pull everything that I had on Peppermint, and I'm having a ownership issue. And I'm not, because I'm not real good with that. I'm having a hard time understanding why in the past I've put on backup drives and no matter what system I booted into, it was able to read it. Now all of a sudden, no matter what system, like even though I format it in Peppermint, it tells me I don't have ownership on it. It's like,
Is your username exactly the same as it was on Peppermint?
Yeah.
What about your user ID number? Check your user ID number, because if you
well, I'm sorry, just on getting me to copy files to the backup drive in Peppermint, I still get a user error, and it's like,
oh yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, you're not the owner. You can't do this. So then I do it if I can. Then I open it. I open it in root. Oh, it'll copy. Now I can't put it back on another system. It's just
right. You have to change user ID, and you can change the settings as far as like on whatever. If you copy as root, it's gonna say only root typically can read it, but you can actually go and change all the files to be where anybody can read it, and actually you can change it to whatever your user ID is also from there typically. So there's a way to do that.
Doesn't he need to change owner?
Yeah, I was going to say, you want to check the owner as well as the permissions.
Yeah.
Because even if you have let's say world readable permissions, that may not be really what you want. You probably want something that's owned by your user, and then less permissive permissions. You don't want like world readable stuff.
Check the group ID. It's like and it's like with OpenSUSE, it has a users group. So if it's part of the users group and users can read it, then anyone that has the group permission for users can read that.
Yeah.
So it might be that what Pop does is different than what Peppermint does, and so you don't have that permission to read the other stuff. But you should be able to go in as root and change those on the backup, change those permissions.
Yeah, I just don't. I mean, I'm not sure what I'm doing different. I think maybe maybe the file system, because in the past I had just done it in FAT32, and then I realized that, that with FAT32 you couldn't move files bigger than like 4 2 or 4 gigs.
4 gigs.
And that. So then I started formatting the drives, and because I don't use them. Back in the past, I did use it between Linux and Windows. So FAT32 is fine, but now I'm just using them between Linux. So I format the drive, I gpart it, I remove everything, do a new partition, and I'm creating it. I'm doing it in Peppermint, and then I try to copy in Peppermint, and it tells me that I don't have permission to do it. So, and I formatted the drive in ext4, so I'm not, I'm tired. I've been working a lot of hours. It's just, it's like bugging the crap out of me, and I can't figure it out, and I get more frustrated, and the more frustrated I get, the worse it becomes.
So it sounds like a mount issue then, actually. If you can't copy files to the drive with your normal user, then it's mounted in a restricted way. That user doesn't have permission to the partition. You'd have to see, like, the easiest way to do it, I guess, would be to do, I would just check from the terminal, but just like in ls-alh and just give you all the, give you who owns it and then the permissions as well. You can also just right click and say properties, and it'll show you through the file manager as well. But it's probably going to be something more restrictive than what your user can do. Like if it's mounted as a different user or a more privileged user, then your user account may not have rights to write to that. You may have like read-only rights, something like that.
I was going to mention what Esnick said in the chat. He said that Shamad will change permission, Shaon will change owner and group. And he also said that you need to change the owner of the mount point. He said that to Steve in the chat.
Okay. Yeah. And that, there's certain things that I get, and there's a lot of things that I still don't. So it's like, You know, and I would, you know, it's like, well, why can't this be just like having a huge USB on your system? You have no problem like that with USBs. Go from one, you know, system to another, transferring stuff. Because I use an IC dock and I have a couple things going. I mean, there's probably only one or two that I would use kind of use the backup on. The others I just test with and that. But
maybe a solution would be if you, I'm not sure. I think one question I would ask is, are you using, are you only accessing that backup drive as a particular user, like from one system install? Because if you have multiple systems and you want to access that backup, you could just create a group called backup and set permissions for that, and then set everything in the drive to be backup, and then then once you learn on top of that, make all your users have access to it. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody. I saw Chickle had his hand up.
I also want to point out that the reason you're likely seeing a difference between behavior on USBs and hard drives is one, that typically file systems on USBs tend to be Windows file systems like
FAT32, yeah,
exFAT or whatever, so they have different permission system.
Mm-hmm.
But also USB drives get mounted differently. So they get when you plug in a USB drive, it gets put under typically like /run/your user /whatever, or /run/media /your user whatever. So like it gets mounted in a way that can give you access to those things, whereas hard drives do not get put in that folder.
And so if you're only ever going to access that from one user system, you can use root to just chown everything over to whatever user you want it to. That's kind of a hammer. It's not really
right.
You know, it'll fix your problem now, but if say you hose your system and you've backed everything up and you go to a new system, you're going to run into the same thing again. So, you know, if you give everything in that a group policy, so to speak, you know, look into that. I would say look into that and access things as you need them, maybe through root or a chown or whatever.
If it's all just your documents and files and downloads and stuff like that, you're pretty safe doing a chown with your username. I mean, there's where you have to be careful with permissions and stuff like that is whenever you're messing around in the more, you know, the operating system level stuff, the root level stuff. Yeah. Like you wouldn't want to go into Etsy and start like, you know, chowning like all that stuff against your username, and you start running into weird problems like that with you know, file permissions. But if it's just a hard drive with files on it, then that are just your files, then you're pretty safe going in. And what, as Nick said, you know, as sudo or as root, you know, do that chown or username.
Yeah, I posted the you know, the basic command there to do it. The R is recursive. It does everything in the drive.
All right. Well, it gives me some starting points. Thanks, gentlemen.
Please research it a little bit more
Yeah.
and back it up, because you don't want to just copy paste something and plug something in and not really,
right,
you know, completely know what you're. Do a test drive. Get some other drive out and mess with it first, and don't risk any of your current files. Do something with that, and then
like as root, don't type in rm-r/**.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
It doesn't fix anything. Well, it's about that time. So thank you all for being here. We'll go around the horn, and if anyone has like a last word, you can go ahead and fire away at that. And remember, we're doing MX Linux next week.
MX Linux.
So Colin, last word, friend.
Okay, looking forward to, well, I'm already on the MX Linux train, so that's not going to be too hard for me this week. That's good. So I don't have to sort of deviate from what I'm doing currently. So I'm happy with that. Thanks, Nate, for hosting Biddle, and thanks, Eric, for helping out there. It's excellent. It's always good to come here. And everybody have a great week and see you next week.
Well, I always appreciate you being here, Colin. You definitely do your homework on just about everything. So it's nice that, when I slough off and I have problems, I can just kind of like, lean on you.
Sometimes.
So much appreciated. So
Good little penguin.
that's right.
You're
Eris,
welcome, mate.
last word.
Thank you very much for the show, everybody for being here, especially for Nate for keeping it going, and Eric for the Zoom meeting.
Well, thanks again for being here. I do enjoy your contributions and your zingers. So thanks for being here. Jinda, last word.
Thank you, everybody. And thanks for putting up with me as usual. And I can't wait to try out MX Linux KDE
Awesome.
21.
It'd be fun. Well, thanks for being here, Jinda. If you can put up with me, I can put up with you. That's kind of how that works. Steve, last word.
Sure. Yeah. Always thanks, Nate. Good luck with Cubicle Farms.
I'm excited.
Yes. Nate planted his first trees.
Yep.
So good luck with that. And thanks for carrying on the Biddle tradition. It's really nice to do something, relax on a Saturday night and catch you guys and all. There you go. But distraction squirrel.
It happens.
Yeah. So hopefully I'll be on in the morning if I can get some of my stuff working right. So I apologize for last week if I just didn't. I've been tired. So
totally understandable. Totally understandable.
Thank you guys for all your support and everybody in the chat. Take care.
And also we can talk offline, whatever, when we're not doing this thing. And I could probably help walk you through some stuff if you want. So I'd be more than happy to do that. I'd love to. But thanks for being here. Eric, so glad he could join and carry the water that I'm not able to.
I'm glad I finally found a way to make my way here. And yeah, it was nice. I'm a little rusty. I haven't talked tech in such a long time, like I was telling you. And this might be a good topic for next week. But I've stopped. My desire to play around with technology, my I guess hackiness, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it, my tinkering nature has left me, and computers at this point, I just want to sit down in front of it, get something done, and walk away. And so that's a different take on using a computer than I've had in the past. And so I really haven't distro hopped or done anything other than just exactly that: sit in front of a computer, do something, and walk away. So maybe a good topic for another time. But anyway, I'm glad I got this come and stop by, and thanks, Nate, for perpetuating and pushing it forward, and getting all of us together to have a chance to say hi. Have a good week.
Well, again, thank you for being here, and I think that's a great topic. I think it'd be a good B topic if we can organically fit it in next week for sure. Kind of talk about that, because that's definitely I know, last word, got it. I'm a chatty Cathy. So it's definitely because I go through those phases too, where like I don't really want to mess around with it. I need to sit down, I need to get a thing done, and I need to go away and plant a fruit tree or whatever, but or feed the chickens. And so there's I totally get that, and I got it. And so I think it'd be a good conversation, like when on that. So yeah, that's a good topic. So again, thanks for being here. Thanks for the Zoom. Scrapjaw. Last word.
This is a fun place to be at the end of my 4-day, 12-hour shifts, and without a whole lot else going on. Most of the other things happening that I would normally plug into my eye holes are on break today because of, it's an 20-year anniversary of 9/11, and most of the things that they're like, people are just like, you know what, we're not doing any content, we're not doing anything, we're staying away from all of it because we're going to go do fun things. I was like, you know what, I want to go hang out with some guys tonight. So hanging out with you all.
Well, I'm really glad you did. It's always a joy to have you on, and your mic always sounds just absolutely perfect every time. I just had to throw that out there.
Thank you. And wherever Rocco is, thanks Rocco for getting the ball rolling, and thanks Nate for keeping it rolling.
Absolutely. Well, again, thanks for being here. Shickle.
I had to find the mute button. Just yeah, it's always good to be here. Just a quick PSA. You use a password manager and like 2FA your stuff. It never hurts. It hurts way more when stuff is lost or somebody has your account. Just do it. It's easier and it's safer and it's kind of cool. So
Look, if my wife can learn and my mom, who's in her 60s, can learn to use LastPass and just tap the screen once on the little 6 digits and then go over to the app and then paste it, you can't do. And they don't know tech like you all do.
I totally agree. I keep trying to get people to, like, I had someone complain about losing passwords, and I said, you know, bitwarden.com/DLN because I don't know what else to say. But anyway, so bitwarden.com/DLN. I love Bitwarden a lot, so I get it.
We need to discuss this, Nate.
Okay.
Because we were discussing this before Rocco left Biddle. He was amazed that I never used a password manager, which I never did. But I was introduced to KeyPass at work, and now I find it just absolutely amazing. I can't work without it now. It's just incredible. So, it's understanding how it works is most important.
Yeah, for sure.
KeyPass XC
Yeah.
is actually amazing because not only can it do the 2-factor authentication, but it can do the log, like the pop-up logins. It can do all sorts of different things, and the way that it stores its data. Yeah, it's actually really, really cool. It's a lot more work, but it is actually very robust and well-maintained, big community around that.
I find it doesn't work too well on a Samsung. My wife's Samsung's phone, it just doesn't work properly. So I don't know how to repair that.
as a Samsung user, everything's a little weird on Samsung.
Good to know. Andy, last word or first word?
It's fun. Yeah, it was funny because this is all together for me tonight. But no, thank you all, guys. Thank you for letting me sit here.
Sure.
Getting used to it. I like it.
Well, I'm glad you did. You filled a spot and made it look less lonely for me, so I appreciate that. Hope to see you next week, Andy. And then you can feel free to chime in anytime. We're just a bunch of dudes talking, or dudettes too. You know, there's always that too.
Thank
Mark,
you.
last word, friend. Are you having audio troubles again? Oh man, I can't hear you. Well, you can hit us up in the after show. Well, I want to thank everyone once again for being here. I want to thank you for joining both in Zoom or in the YouTube chat, in the YouTube stream. I want to thank Rocco again for starting the Biddle community. And I want to thank Eric a third or fourth time now for the Zoom account because I am too cheap to buy my own. And also everyone involved in making Linux and open source tools possible. That allows us to have this conversation, to have fun with software, enjoy our computers, and make them our own once again. So thank you all, because Linux truly puts personal back into personal computer. Until next time, see yous.
All right, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.
See ya.
Bye.